All right, so welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to today's Financial Management Club meeting. We're having a special guest today, Judy Stewart, and she's going to help us get ready for the virtual career fair. So Judy Stewart is a career counselor at the School of Business's Career Development Office at the Stanford campus. She's a wonderful asset to the School of Business. She helps students with their resume, cover letters, job search, LinkedIn help, mock interviews, and more. I'm very privileged to have her as a guest speaker today. As with all of our meetings, I ask kindly that those of you with a webcam off, turn it on just to help with engagement within the club and to show respect to Judy Stewart for her time today. And just a quick announcement for next meeting, we will be having Stephen Chase. He's a managing director at AMCAP here in Stanford. It's a private equity firm in real estate, managing over $1 billion in assets, and he'll be talking about the real estate market as an asset class, as well as jobs in the field and more. So Judy, you're now a presenter.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. I see a lot of names and faces that I know already, and I want to welcome all the new freshmen, and I want to welcome all the students from FRM that may or may not be new, but welcome to all of you. Many of you know me. I have been with the School of Business in Stanford for the last 3 years. Those of you who don't know me, I want to talk just for a second about my background, as well as a little bit about the structure of the Career Center in Stanford. And then I'm going to talk only about the virtual career fair. So my background, and I encourage all of you to link in on LinkedIn, of course. My whole background was in human resources. I was on the talent acquisition side for over 25 years in Manhattan for a Fortune 500 company. About 3 years ago, I switched over to working for UConn. I was the first career counselor for the School of Business. So what I just want to say about the structure, because it can be confusing, I work with the undergraduate School of Business and the part-time MBA group. Jason Gorak, who you know, especially in the FRM group, works with the FRM group. And then there's another business career counselor that works with the BAPM group. Her name is Masako Hashimoto. So we have 4 or 5 dedicated business career counselors in Stanford. There is also other counselors. They work with every other major in the School of Business. They're there also, but we are fully dedicated to business. So most of us have an expertise in that area, and we're fully dedicated. I know we're here to confuse you. I just wanted to explain. When we are all back on the campus, I sit with the School of Business down on the first floor with your counselors, Emma and Allison, and John Knopf, the head of the program, et cetera. So that's where I sit when things get back to normal. Right now, I'm in my living room, so you can rate my room, as they say. Anyway, so again, thank you for being here. What do we have, like 23 or 24 people, George, today? Something like that, growing?
Yeah, it looks like 25.
Excellent. Okay, great. So we do lots of events in the Career Center. We did a Career Tuesday earlier today. We do a Career Tuesday most Tuesdays. And we send a newsletter out to you undergraduates, usually every Sunday evening. And we also have an active Instagram account called UConn Biz Career. That's B-I-Z Career. So I encourage all of you to join us. So here's what I'd like to say about the virtual career fair. Those of you who know me, George has been with the club for a year. I saw some other people that I know that have been with the club for a few years, know that I usually come with a PowerPoint, and I've done it a few times, so it's familiar to me. What we're going to do today is unfamiliar to me, and we have never done a virtual career fair. I am not an MBA on Handshake. You will quickly figure that out. So I'm going to tell you the best that I know. I'm going to focus on two things to get you ready. You can ask a question anytime, and I'll also answer questions at the end. So I've already said the first thing. This is brand new for all of us. Usually Storrs has a career fair, Stanford has a career fair. This is all brand new, all campuses, all virtual, multiple days, multiple functions on the days, all brand new. So as I said, I'm going to try to supply you the answers. Some of them I'll have, and some of them I'll have to get back to you. So I want to start, I gave you a couple of handouts that we sent out. So again, no slides. I'm just going to say the following. You must get comfortable with Handshake. Handshake is the career portal for UConn. And everything that happens in this virtual career fair is going to happen on Handshake. So the number one thing is that you must have an active profile on Handshake, and you really should have an updated resume. So that means those of you who had summer internships, make sure that you add in your internships, make sure that it's updated. We have sent out a few reminders, but I will again remind you, if you need me to take a look at your resume, please either make an appointment through Nexus or just shoot me an email and ask me to take a look at your resume. Okay? So everything has to be updated on Handshake. The reason why is the employers are viewing you 100% through Handshake. So in the old days, you would walk up to an employer and you would shake their hand. Now everything is on the platform. So we want your profile to be filled out. You may be accepted or rejected based upon something that's in your profile. So I want to make sure there is some preceded information that the university has put in there. Make sure that it's accurate. Make sure that your major is accurate. Make sure that your year is accurate. And make sure that everything in there is updated. The structure of the career fair is different also. It used to be one day, multiple employers. Now it is 5 days, starting next week, the 21st to the 25th. And each day has different functional employers. So one day is financial, banking, I believe retail. Another day is perhaps healthcare. I'm not looking at it. Why don't I just open it up? And other types of employers. Another day is STEM industries. Now, here's what I noticed about the multiple days. I would like you to encourage you to register based upon the employers that you're interested in and not what the day is called, okay? So what I found is that on day 5, which is called STEM, there's multiple employers, like Synchrony is on that day, Spectrum, which is a major cable and entertainment firm in Stanford, is on that day. So everything that we're going to talk about, I will give you the guideposts, but it does take a little homework to get yourself ready for this, okay? So I want you to go through, even though Tuesday is called healthcare, entertainment, media, maybe if you're a finance major, you might not think to look on Tuesday. I would like to encourage you to look based upon the employers that are there that day. Also, make sure that your Handshake profile, the privacy settings are set to either community or employer. If they are not set to employer, employers cannot view you. So if you're on a privacy setting, which you're all familiar with, the employer cannot view your profile. So it has to be, community is the biggest group and it opens you up to other students. Employer is just for the employers. And the other thing about the way that it's going to go is there's going to be group sessions that anybody can join. You just have to register. And that's the employer talking for about a half hour, like an info session. And then there will be one-on-one sessions where the employer will chat with you directly, and that will be limited to a 10-minute session. So it will be what we can call a virtual interview, but much shorter than a regular interview. So, so if you go to, I think that you probably know this, but I'll say it. If you go to events and then career fair, you do have to register. You have to register for the career fair. You have to register for a group or a one-on-one session. Once you are registered, you'll get a confirmation. And I encourage you to be a little bit early for your session. Definitely don't be late for your session, especially a one-on-one session. And if you need to cancel or reschedule, please do so as soon as you know, okay? Because there are limited slots and you are taking the slot of somebody else. So if you can't be there, please make sure that you cancel or you reschedule, okay? One more thing about Handshake. As you are going through, you probably know this, but I'll say it. You can save the jobs that you like, and you can bookmark at the top right. You can also bookmark them. So this will keep you organized. The other thing is that it will tell Handshake what you're interested in, and Handshake will start suggesting jobs for you. So, nobody wants to go into a career site every day. You want the career site to start working for you. So I encourage you to like a job, to bookmark the companies that you're interested in. The other thing is you can follow companies that you're interested in, and please do that, okay? Because if you're interested in Goldman Sachs, they may or may not have a job available today, but 2 weeks later, they may. So that way, they will be shooting you an email saying there's a new job posted on Goldman Sachs. So use the capabilities and the navigation that's on the tool. And I said that already. Follow the companies that you like, okay? Questions so far? I just want to take one little breath in case anybody has any questions that I can answer so far. All good, right? You guys are way better at Handshake than I am, I'm sure. Okay, so the number one differentiator that will make you stand out in a career fair, it's something that takes a little time and effort, but it's definitely worth it. Do you know what employers like better than anything else? What's going to make you stand out? Any kind of guesses?
A good personality.
What did you say? Good personality? Yeah, Kyle. Oh, hi, Kyle. Yeah, a good personality, of course, somebody who's outgoing, somebody who's motivated, somebody who's interested. Yes, except personality sometimes can be subjective, but where you can never lose, Kyle, you're absolutely right, is to be enthusiastic and to be interested and to be energetic, okay? Great.
And Andrew Koch said in the chat, Judy, when you research their business, when you research the
Perfect. Okay. So Andrew Koch, thank you for that answer. That is really the most important thing that you can do. It is also the most time-consuming thing. I know that it is the most time-consuming thing, but you've got to kind of have a game plan for the career fair. So when it was a live career fair, we would give you maps about where the employers would be sitting, and you'd have to do your research. So I don't want anybody to do any heavy lifting research. Let me tell you a couple of tips about simple ways to do research. If you go on the site of, let's take Goldman Sachs, okay? There's a ton of information. And it's like, what do you even talk about? It's kind of a little bit corporate, it's somewhat canned. This is how you find out about employers. The best thing to do is Google them. Set up Google alerts for the employers that you like. Follow them on social media. Follow them on LinkedIn. If they're a product company, learn about what's a new product launch. If they have had a recent acquisition, something like that. You can find out way more interesting information. Like I believe today, Apple had a very major event, which was a public event. Well, everything's public now, but it was a virtual event. So if we were having Apple at the fair, you can just go in and Google the news. It should, even something within a month that the company did. And it's just a great conversation starter, okay? When Amazon, a couple of years ago, I said to students, because we generally have Amazon at the fair, we will have Amazon again. When they bought Whole Foods, which was a couple of years ago, maybe going back 3 years. Simple acquisition, simple fact. You don't have to know page 67 of, what's in their annual report. Nobody's going to be impressed by that. But if you know one or two simple facts about the company, that will really, really make you stand out. Here's the other thing. In a virtual career fair, it is way better for you in the one-on-ones. And I'll tell you why. You have complete control. When you go to an interview, a physical interview, and you're going into Manhattan or Boston or Stanford or wherever you are, you don't know what the office is going to look like. You don't know. It's just all not within your control. When you're in a virtual interview, you have control over everything. You have control over your lighting, your background, what you're going to say. You should keep your notes handy. So if you're going to meet with 6 employers, you should have a little cheat sheet for each of them with a couple of the facts that we just talked about. So keep your notes handy. George said that I should cover, and I will. You will hear the term elevator pitch, especially as freshmen. I'm going to be visiting your class in the next few weeks, and you're going to hear the word a lot, elevator pitch. So I'm going to tell you something a little odd. You're never going to hear it from me because I don't love that term, but I am going to talk about it. So what elevator pitch means is just, okay, now you've met the employer. Now, what do you say? So I do things a little bit different and backwards coming from the employer side. Employers want to hear about them. Okay, everybody tells you they want to hear about you, and they will hear about you in this interview. But the most important thing is exactly what I just told you. You will make a big hit with the employer if you start out the conversation knowing a couple of facts about them. If you sit down and, you always need an icebreaker at the beginning. So, it's a little kind of stiff to talk about an elevator pitch and, like going in right away and talking about yourself. What's way more comfortable is to smile, to breathe, to shake their hand in a regular interview, and to lean forward, make sure that your posture's right, so that, to Kyle's point, they can see in your personality that you're energetic and that, you're happy to be there. You're not slouching back in your seat. Don't sit on a couch. Make sure that you're sitting in a chair and that you're sitting upright. So freshmen, you're going to be hearing things about, you may hear that term elevator pitch. I think the most potent elevator pitch is you knowing about the employer, and that will break the ice and that will get the conversation going. Okay? Dress for success. It's the same as a career fair. So the employer can generally see you from, about, here up, depending upon your camera. Play around with your camera before. Make sure you have your lighting correct. Make sure that your face is well lit and that there's no shadows. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more in a little while. Make sure that your video, this goes without saying, but when you're interviewing one-on-one, you should be on video. So I am happy to have appointments with any of you who feel awkward or have, listen, there's lots of reasons. You may not be in a private space. You may have, too much noise or too many roommates or whatever. So I'm happy to supply some insight to get you to feel comfortable. What you're going to see is, guess what? Everything is virtual from here on in. So whether or not, when we go back to the university as a whole and we can be with each other again, virtual is still going to play a huge part in our work life going forward. So I'd love to encourage you to get comfortable so that it's a skill like any other skill. And the more you do it, the more you're going to feel comfortable with it. So dress for success. Gentlemen, what I would say is please wear a collared shirt for these one-on-one, for the virtual career fair. Wearing a tie is never a bad idea. Ladies, just make sure that you have, a professional blouse. And if you want to wear a jacket, that's up to you. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I just want to say one thing. When interviewing, as in visiting office spaces, comes back again, please remember that not all companies have similar dress codes. I worked my whole career in Manhattan, and many people would say to me, in an email, I need you to know I'm going to come dressed very casual to this interview because my company, we wear jeans and t-shirts. So, if I come in a suit that day, they're going to know that I'm interviewing. So that's all okay as long as you communicate that. There are many companies where they wear jeans and t-shirts. There's one right near us in Stanford, Indeed. Everybody wears jeans and t-shirts. Vineyard Vines in Stanford, everybody wears jeans and t-shirts. Many are casual. However, since we don't know at the career fair, you're always better to be a little dressed up, not crazy dressed up, but definitely gentlemen wear a collared shirt and definitely ladies wear a nice blouse. So, so that's that. Okay, great. So what I want to do now is I want to do a screen share. And hang on a second. Okay. I knew that was too, oh, here it is. Great. Okay. Is this viewable? George, is this viewable? Yes?
Yes, we can see it, Judy.
Wonderful. Okay. So what I did was I put together something that you can have after we're finished. And it's just a tip sheet, okay? Because the way that I like to look at it, now I'm talking about the one-on-one interviews that you're signing up for. They're going to be 10 minutes, as I said. So they're not a full-blown interview. But I segmented this into what you should do before, what you should do during, and what you should do after a virtual meeting, okay? There's also a video for you to look at. I'm not going to show that video now. You can look at the link and look at the video. I never do more than 4 to 5 minute videos, so don't worry, I don't make you watch very long things. So, you know, before your session, and you can be doing this now, make sure that your technology, make sure that you have the bandwidth, make sure that your Wi-Fi is not going to go out on you. And I can't stress enough how important lighting is. Okay, make sure your background is not distracting. There's a little article here about lighting. Lighting does not have to be complicated. The only thing I'm going to say is either have natural lighting or just take any sort of a little lamp. I literally have like a $20 IKEA lamp in back of my laptop so that my face is lit, okay? You don't want to have shadows, and you don't want to be in the shadows. You want your face to be well lit. We already talked about dressing for success. We already talked about, look into the camera, make sure it's sort of strange, you know, you're not looking at a person, you're looking at a camera, but it's all we got right now. So look into the camera, make sure that you have good posture. We talked about researching the company and keeping your notes. The beauty of a virtual career fair is you can have your notes right in front of you. And I encourage you to have your notes right in front of you. This is such a very relevant tip, and a lot of people don't do it. So here it is, I put it in writing. Use their job description as a guide. So let me give you an example. I had a job open last year when I was looking for a student worker. And I think that I put on the job description that I wanted somebody who was interested in social media, who was interested in designing flyers, and was organized. Perhaps that was the only 3 things that I said there. I don't remember anything much more than that. When people applied for the job, they were writing me long cover letters and telling me all about every other skill that had nothing to do with the job and that I was looking for. So please, you know, and I know that you spend so much time on your cover letter, so please keep it simple. Use the job description as a guide. They are telling you what they want. They are telling you Excel skills, social media skills, whatever. Literally spit that right back to them in the interview. And if there is ever a cover letter or an email, literally tell them how you can provide value with what they've already told you they're looking for. If you know SQL, if you know HTML, God bless you, maybe for another job. But if it's not part of this job and they don't bring it up, don't you bring it up, because it will just confuse an interview and not give the interviewer what they've already told you they're looking for. We are more than happy to play the part of the employer, and we can do a virtual interview. Just set up an appointment on Nexus, and I am more than happy to do a virtual interview with you, and I will give you feedback on everything that I just went through. The next thing is a very cool, from the Wall Street Journal, 5 minutes or less, practice interview with an actual student sitting there and somebody giving similar tips. So I encourage you to watch that. Okay, now I am really okay to say to you, literally, if you use this line, it's going to be an icebreaker and you're going to do really well in the interview, okay? So I already said before to Kyle, start out with enthusiasm, okay? You can literally say this. I am so excited to speak to you today because, and then insert a specific fact about the company or the person, okay? So that is gonna build rapport really, really quickly. If I was interviewing with Apple next week, I might say, I'm so excited to speak to you today because I attended your virtual event last Tuesday and I learned that your new product is blah, 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 whatever I'm going to say. And now you've told them you know something about the company, you've broken the ice, and you've shown them that you're interested. So be my guest, take that line, it never fails. Look into the camera, smile and breathe. We already talked about the basics, have your notes nearby. When you talk about yourself, try to have some facts about your accomplishments and your accomplishments relative to the job description, as we said. If probably not in a 10-minute interview, but in a longer interview, if you have a little story about a project and how you accomplished something or how you worked with a team, please use that story. That would be good. And then always have questions ready. Come with a few questions, you know, when you're doing your research about the company. But what's really powerful is if you can ask questions based upon what the interviewer is telling you, because then they know that you've listened to them, you've digested it, and that's a great skill. We all love good listeners. So if the interviewer tells you something about some new project, just keep note of it. It's okay for you to write a couple of notes while they're talking, and then ask a question based upon what they've told you. So that's a really powerful thing to show somebody that you're actually listening. And then at the end of the interview, make sure that you thank them for their time. Make sure that you ask them if they can share their email with you. I don't know on Handshake whether you're going to have their email or not. I know they're going to have your resume. I don't know if you're going to have their email. Always try to get the contact's email. You know, when you're at a regular career fair, you can ask somebody for their business card. So try to get their email so that you can follow up. And then ask them about what are the next steps in the process. Okay. So right after the interview, literally right after, I hope that you have some time in between your 10-minute meetings. Jot some notes down, okay? So the recruiter's name, the contact details, what's the process, what were the key points that they told you? So this will be helpful when you write your thank you note. They're going to tell you to apply for the jobs, I'm sure, online, and they'll tell you what that process is. Try to send a follow-up email to that person that you spoke to within a day, and please reference something that was said in your conversation. So I can't stress that enough. So many times when I was on the employer side, you know, you would get a standard email, which is lovely, saying, thank you for your time. I'm so excited. I love your company. But what's very powerful is if you can put into that email, you know, Judy, you mentioned that you're looking for people with HTML. I just did this project. Here's a link to my project. You know, we didn't have time to talk about it, but since you mentioned HTML, I wanted to send that to you. That's a very good thank you note, because it references something that was said. And then the name of the game is follow up. Most people write a thank you note and then they forget and they wait. Please keep in mind these recruiters, these people that are interviewing at multiple colleges, at multiple career fairs, and you want to get your name out there. So follow up if you don't hear back within a week or so. And then if you don't hear back again, follow up again. And I have lots of different ways that you can follow up. I can send you some material about that. So I think that that's it. The main parts really are this virtual interviewing and having the tips and advice and the background and all the setting that you need. By the way, distractions happen. If a garbage truck comes by and you didn't hear a question, it's perfectly okay to say, I'm so sorry, would you repeat that again? You know, be human. If your cat crawls across your laptop board, take your cat off, smile, make a joke. It's perfectly fine. So I think that that is it for this. Questions? Anything that you would like to ask that I didn't cover? Don't be shy, guys.
Oh, if I could just include something. I remember, Judy, you mentioned this last semester, and I thought it helped me a lot. Was that if you go to talk to companies first that you're not completely interested in, you can use it as a warm up to then eventually go on to the companies that you really want to go for.
Yes.
Yeah, it helped me a lot because I mean, when you go in cold and you know, if it's your dream job, it's the first company you're talking to. You know, you're not going to have as much practice.
Correct. You can do the same thing. So what Kyle's talking about was I used to say, pick an A, B, and C company. And A are your favorites, B are your next to favorites, and C are like, don't know much about them. Maybe I don't care much about them. Start with your C companies when you walk into a career fair, so that, as Kyle said, you can get the edge off, you can start to feel comfortable with it, so that by the time you get to your A companies, you've had a couple of 10-minute meetings and you're a little bit more comfortable. Okay? The recruiters are there to make you feel comfortable. I have observed them all at career fairs. They want you to feel comfortable. So part of it is making yourself feel comfortable first. You know, so it's relaxing, it's smiling, and it's definitely knowing a couple of things about the company, and that will break the ice. So Kyle, that's a great point. Thank you for mentioning that.
Hey, Judy, questions. Do you happen to know what platform they're going to use at the career fair? Is it Zoom, WebEx?
No, they're going to, hi you, how are you?
Good, how are you?
This handshake platform. Okay, so you're trying to ask me a trick question. So all I know is that Handshake probably has a proprietary platform. I don't think it's going to be Zoom or WebEx. I could be 100% wrong. I think that they own this platform and that it will be a proprietary platform. The way that it's going to work you will be very similar to Zoom or WebEx, but my understanding is that it's a proprietary platform because each day for 4 hours, they're having, well, I guess you could do it with Zoom or WebEx. I mean, WebEx can accommodate 1,000 people on a platform, but my understanding is it's a proprietary platform. I'm happy if somebody wants to, George or somebody writes down that question, I'm happy to look into it for you and let you know.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to trick you, because what happened is that majority of the time when you switch from Zoom to Collaborate or WebEx, is that the audio setting kind of adjusts. So like when you start speaking, like they don't really actually hear you, so you have to switch that accordingly as well.
Yeah. Yes, you're absolutely right. And the other thing, because you worked at IBM, you may still be working at IBM, but IBM also had their own proprietary platform that I also did something on. So, you know, just give yourself a little time. Don't freak out. The most important thing is get comfortable with the technology. You know, a few months ago, back in March, when this first happened, I didn't know the difference between mute and all of that. I've learned it now. So just get comfortable. I mean, mute and video are probably the most important thing. And to your point, volume is important. And these are only 10 minutes long. So if you know those and you're in the middle of your screen and you're lit, you'll be fine.
Thanks, Judy.
Any other questions? Come on, I didn't really cover it completely, did I? How many people have signed up already? Have a lot of you? I don't know how I can do this, but yeah, just raise your hands. Okay. Is the process so far, have you found it user-friendly, easy to navigate, or whatever the correct word is?
Yeah, it's actually pretty easy. You just choose the time that you want, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. What I was finding the other day, I don't know if any of you have found this, was that some employers didn't have their sessions up yet. So instead of saying like, check back later, it was saying no sessions available. So if anybody gets messages like that, I would encourage you to check back again, because it just could be that they haven't signed up. The other thing which I've said to some freshmen, so I want to say this generically, there will be employers that are perhaps only looking for sophomores or juniors. So I encourage you, please be patient. There's lots of jobs other than what those employers are there to talk about. A lot of those employers are here to talk about a little bit more structured internships. There's lots and lots of jobs that are not structured internships that you can get for next summer. And that's where set up a one-on-one meeting with me, and I'm happy to work with you on that. Any other questions about the career fair?
Yes, Judy, it looks like Claudel asked a question in the chat. She's asking, is this fair for only graduates?
So that's a great question. So here's what I would say. Look carefully. I was noticing that when I was looking at some of the STEM employers, they were looking for graduate students. They even mentioned masters and MBAs. So I would say in general, career fairs are generally geared towards undergraduates, but there are some days of this career fair, look under actuarial sciences and look under STEM, that I believe that they may be looking for graduate students. Now, there's another thing, by the way, regarding your question. I don't know anything about this, but I encourage you to read. It's on Handshake. On October 15th, it says virtual graduate and law school fair. I don't know anything about that yet, but that's noted on Handshake. So it's called October 15th, virtual graduate and law school fair. Don't know much about it. So you are welcome, Claudel. While I'm waiting for another question, I just want to mention something else that George might have mentioned to you the other day. A lot of times we tell you about external events, and there was an external event that we marketed a few weeks ago. It was called the Wall Street Journal Career Summit, and it was a free event. There were lots of interesting speakers, and it may have been a little misleading because it was 4 hours, but you could just show up for one session. Most of the sessions were 30 or 45 minutes. The reason that I wanted to mention that to you is that I noticed George did a little poll. It could have been because your schedule, it could have been because it was the first week of school, it could have been a million things that not a lot of you got a chance to attend. And I want to encourage you to attend those external events because the world is bigger than UConn, bigger than our virtual career fairs. There were lots of super interesting employers that were at that virtual career summit that the Wall Street Journal put on. And guess what? You can connect with them on LinkedIn. Think of non-traditional ways to get a job. They are there to impart wisdom. They have no problem if you connect with them on LinkedIn. And what a wonderful out of the box way to approach getting a job. So when we put those external events that either the employer's hosting or the Wall Street Journal is hosting, even if you can show up for one session, I would like for you to experience it, because that was one of the best. I'm pretty critical about those things, and that was one of the best that they ever did. So, any other questions about the career fair?
Would you suggest signing up for any specific number of one-on-one sessions?
No, Andrew, what I would say is, first of all, if you're like a sophomore or a junior, you're a sophomore or a junior, are you, Andrew? Yes?
Junior.
Junior, okay. So when you're a junior, I don't know what your resume says or whatever, but this is when you should start really hitting the gas pedal. So what I would say to you is sign up for as many as the jobs look interesting and the industry looks interesting. I would go more by the industry than the job, because the jobs are just, you know, maybe it's available today and maybe 2 weeks from now, there'll be different jobs available. So I would really go by an industry. And if you're having any trouble sorting through that, Andrew, I'm happy to set up a Nexus appointment with me and we can brainstorm together. Okay? So I don't have any magical number. Try to give yourself a breather in between those, because I'm sure that they would get nerve-wracking if you did them back to back to back. But great question. Any other questions? Okay. As a reminder, I am, thank you, George, to schedule an appointment. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
He just put it in the chat box. So you can schedule an appointment with me on Nexus. That's what he put through. By the way, Claudel, I am very sorry. I might have said she and you're a he, and I'm sorry about that. Thank you, George, for correcting me. Schedule an appointment through Nexus. If you want me to just quickly, you know, many people sometimes quickly send me their resume. That's okay if I know you. If I don't know you, I'd really prefer that we have an appointment together, because if not, I'm just kind of pulling rabbits out of a hat when I don't really know you. I don't know what you want, what you're focusing on, what kind of job you're looking for, what you're trying to accomplish. So, so an appointment might be the better way to go. Okay.
And Judy, one thing, so you mentioned a variety of ways to apply for jobs, search for jobs, and during this presentation, I did a poll asking the participants if they have a handshake account. It looks like some of them do not. Is it necessary? For the career fair, it is necessary to have a handshake, but is it necessary in your job search to have a handshake account?
You know, it's one of those things that I can't see how it hurts anybody, George. Here's the difference between employers that are on Handshake and employers that are on LinkedIn and Indeed or bigger sites. The employers on Handshake are looking for UConn students. They are there specifically for UConn students. Some of them are even more specific. They want Stanford students, or they want Waterbury students. Geographically, they want perhaps more students. You know, we get the biggest amount of New York City employers in Stanford because we're the closest to New York City. So I don't see any downside. I think it's painless to set up a Handshake profile. You just upload your resume. Some of it is even pre-filled out. And then if I'm your career counselor, we can talk about if it's working for you or not working for you. If Jason or Masako is your career counselor, you can talk to them. Graduate students, it's a little different. You may not see as many jobs for graduate students on Handshake. But I know that there are some jobs, so you have to use the filtering mechanisms on Handshake.
Thank you, Judy.
Okay. You are welcome. Do you want me to let you go back to your meeting? It's probably almost over, but
Yeah. If anyone has any other questions for Judy, now's the time to ask. But if not, thank you, Judy, very much for coming.
You're
It
welcome.
was great having you, and I hope to have you again.
Okay, thank you. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, and tell me your feedback after you go.
Will do. All right, so does anyone have any questions regarding the club or our next meeting with Stephen Chase and AMCAP?
I think we're all set.
All right, perfect. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.